Yeah. So if anybody wants to talk, feel free to unmute yourself. If it starts going crazy with sound, then maybe remute yourself. But we got a good group here, almost seven, I'm sure over 70 participants, because we had multiples logging in. So like my mom said, I appreciate everybody who came out here today.
Hey, we appreciate you, your mom. I appreciate Kathy. Appreciate Dan. Bubbles, me and him will fight later. But you know, Mark is my buddy too. He was a good friend of Sarah's too. There was joustings on here, and he's sitting in there. But there was somebody just buzzed in about they were checking in on the whole thing. She touched our whole lives. She touched us like incredible ways. And Kathy, I'll talk to you later. Okay, we'll talk later and stuff. And
Okay. Yep.
yeah. But everybody who's here, I mean, she touched us in so many ways, and it's incredible. And I love this that we all got to celebrate her today. I think it's the best. Except for Bubbles. I don't like him. Yeah, I know. I see you. Tell your wife I said hello. But yeah, thank you, Andrea. I've never met you in person. I've met Kathy, but you know, it's stuff like that. But this was beautiful. I pushed this out the minute I found out about it. I pushed it out to as many people I could to try to be, because she made a difference in my life, and she made a difference in a lot of people's lives. You know, she put people before herself, and that was kind of the thing. So I thank you and your family. Anything you need, Kathy has my number. Call me.
Hey,
Thank you.
Andrea.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wondering if you could. I was wondering if you could tell. Some of us haven't seen Sarah in a while. Can you tell us what she's been up to? Like, I guess like the overview of her life in the last. I know it sounds kind of odd, but like
You would have
20
to
years.
you would have
Like
to probably talk to Todd more than me, because me and her, we kind of had a falling out, but it was.
No, I'm talking to her sister. I just wanted
Oh
to know.
yeah,
In a kind of an overview, if you wouldn't mind.
yeah,
I'm thinking Kathy would be the best one to speak there.
yeah. She would.
Go ahead, Kat. You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes. Sandra, she graduated from UT Arlington in what year, Joe? Was that 99? With her degree in biology.
Yeah, it was 99.
Okay, and her and Joe graduated at the same time. The ceremony for 1 day apart because of their majors.
Nice.
She worked in a lab in Dallas, and then she went up to Indianapolis with a man, and who wound up being her first husband. But during the time she was in Indianapolis, he took another job in Atlanta, so she went to, and she was working for the Indianapolis environmental something, and then to Atlanta. In Atlanta, the marriage fell apart. That is where Sarah met Dan Mingle, who I don't think you were on before, but he has been so helpful to the family to help get Sarah's personal possessions and her dog into protective care or whatever. So after that, she moved back to Dallas. She was working for the in Fort Worth. She was working for the Office of Air Quality, and she was an air quality investigator. Her migraine that she had, Sandra, continued to get worse and worse. She eventually wound up with an electrostim implant, neurostim,
Yeah.
and wound up having to actually, they let her go, but she went on to full disability from the migraines. And then that was like 2016, just around the time she met or started dating Todd.
Okay.
And
Yeah, yeah, that's about right. Because yeah, she got let go when my ex-wife and her were working together. Yeah, that's about right. And yeah, that's what happened. And she was having bad problems with the migraines.
So they became so
Yeah,
debilitizing.
yeah. She couldn't like function. Like she would call me up and she'd be like, "Can you come over here and take care of the dog and the rats?" She goes, "I can't function right now." And I was like, "All right, I'll be over there right now." And that's what I would do. So it
No,
was a lot of stuff.
And I'm assuming she tried many different either drugs or different types of.
She tried the shots, and she tried the capsation up the nose, like a nasal spray. And she said it was wicked. So like she would call me up and she would be like, "Look, I can't deal with it right now." And I'm like, "All right, I'll be over there right now and I'll take care of the dogs and I'll feed the rats." All right. And she would go lay down. But she was trying she tried, I forget how many different drugs she had tried at the time. But there was a bunch of stuff she was trying. And
Sandra, I would be, and Tony, I don't think I would be exaggerating to say that Sarah saw, I think, some of the best headache neurologists. I think that she was in the Mayo Clinic. When she lived in Indianapolis, she wound up in the Mayo Clinic.
yes.
She had one in Dallas that was doing the final clinical study before they released Aimovig as
Yes.
migraine, and that actually helped her a lot. But she had trouble getting the prescription, paying for the prescription, getting it filled. Unfortunately, it's when everything started to unravel.
No, trust me. I remember the day she got fired. I was so upset because, she was just trying to take care of herself. And I remember the day. And yeah, she was trying to do everything to take care of herself. And we were trying to help her out. Me and my ex-wife, we tried to help her out all we could. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been there with her. So that's how, we grew together and stuff, and it's just sad. I hate you, Bubbles. You keep looking at me like that. But sorry.
let me say a little bit. I didn't know what to say when we were talking there, but since Sarah was so much younger than me, 10 years, I was out of the house, so I didn't see a lot of her growing up. To me, a lot of the memories are, the incessant teasing we used to, because she was the youngest one. And, like Kathy mentioned, Sarah Babe, and our dad saying S Babe. And we used to say all the time, like, Sarah Jane's a pain in the neck. And she used to go,
Yeah.
How do you spell by the way? And how do you, I'm trying to figure out how was understood to be no. But anyway, you know, there was a lot of that thing. But so I didn't see the later part of her growing up. I knew that like Kathy and Liz, they had some horses and did stuff with that. So I was a little bit disconnected for a while, and then like I heard she had this lizard, and I had a hard time connecting this lizard, my sister Sarah having a lizard, because she never, this just did not fit her. And next thing I know, I hear, you know, she has a snake. And so a lot of this didn't really make, you know, it's just little things. I think she said, you know, she had gotten a lizard tattoo on her leg, and and so it wasn't until like at her first, you know, she had gone off to Indiana, and so for her first wedding, that, you know, I kind of reconnected at that point, having seen her only occasionally and outside that context. And so we're over at her house, and there she is. She's got a snake, and
Yep.
I think the iguana was there, and she had rats all running around that she would let out. You know, I don't know how many rats. I swore she had about 20 rats. There were more. There were 2 cages of rats. There were the cages of the
Yeah, I
boys.
know.
There was at least like several of each. So, and so she'd let one cage out, and then you know, she kept the boys on one floor, I think, and the girls. But they would sometimes go. So only one set got out of the cages at the time, and so that was a great reconnect, and it kind of showed a different view of my sister, who had grown up while I was out. And then of course, you know, like Kathy with the images, the Sarah's plastic face, be able to make an expression, and and Sarah had a way of saying these things, like Todd said, the Sarah-isms, but you know, she would connect some of the things. And I don't know, what Todd mentioned appropriate racism, that would just crack me up.
Welcome to the hash. That's all it is. Welcome to the hash.
So,
I think
but
appropriate.
That ugly person right there, Richard Crusher, that you're looking at, that ugly person, he's big time. Trust me. He's funny though. He's one of my best friends.
so anybody wants to say anything, feel free to unmute. This is unstructured here.
Yeah.
Just
Say
because-
something. Say something, Bubbles. Say something. He want to talk. Where's Beth? See, he doesn't.
Oh, I got a story from 2014.
Yeah.
I can't
Where's
remember.
Jousting? Jousting. There he goes.
I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, but we both didn't have any plans, and I don't know. You know, Sarah was the type of person you could just fire her up in a second and be like, "Hey, let's do something spontaneous," and she'd be down with that. And that's how we ended up getting on the road from Dallas all the way to Kansas City, making a stop in Wichita. We got into all sorts of adventures because it was basically a hash trip. We went to Kansas City, which is my mother hash, and that's where, you know, she ran trail there. Everybody loved her, but you know, out of the many adventures that we had there, you know, the one thing I just remember too, like driving from Dallas to Wichita, she falls asleep, right? Like she's out. And don't ask me how, but I had this huge toy tarantula in the car. I think it was from a previous trail that we did with the Dallas or the Fort Worth hash. I can't remember very well, but I had it. And in my mind, I thought it would be funny to put it on top of her and take a few pictures. And so yeah, I wish I could find those pictures. I've been looking for them all this time since we started this. I can't find them, but you can picture she was just kind of laying on her side, right, completely out, and she just had this huge plastic tarantula on top of her, and that was just a fun time that we had there. So I just wanted to share that for the humor and the kind of stuff that we got into. So
With Sarah, that could be the mild stuff. And Kathy, you're muted.
I don't know whether I'm muted.
There you go.
Okay, what was the racism? The appropriate racism? That is a good example of Sarah playing cards against humanity, because she was always the most awful person in the
Oh
room.
God, she had what was it? Mark, you even know she had like, what was it, 7 packs or something like that? Like all these crazy things. It was weird. We used to have parties at her house, and she had a magician show up one time. Dowsing, did you come that time?
oh, but I remember the rats.
You remember that one, yeah. And she had these packs. So you know when you buy the first pack of the humanity thing,
Yeah.
she went out and bought like 7 more on top of it. So we would sit there, and it would just be like, I can't keep going through this. It got horrible after a while.
Hi, my name is Glendora. I want to say something before I hop off. So I worked with Sarah with the state. I was one of the air quality investigators with her, and I just want to say that team was like a sisterhood.
I know you.
Yeah. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
And Sarah was, it was like a sisterhood, and I want to say that Sarah was like the sister that would never judge you. You could share all your secrets with her. She wasn't going to judge you. She wasn't going to tell. And she was really smart. So if you were a new person with a dumb question, you could go to her, and you knew that your dumb question was safe with Sarah. And I just enjoyed working with her. She loved good coffee. She loved the Rangers. She was so delightful, and you could just really open up to her, and she's gonna be missed. Yeah, she was very special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Glendora worked with Sarah and my ex-wife and stuff. I've known her for years now. She's an awesome person, so she knew Sarah. It's really cool that you're on here.
You reminded me of a story, and I can tell it, but I'm telling it secondhand. But if Joe is there, do you want to tell the Ranger boyfriend story?
Oh my God, not that story.
I don't know. Joe doesn't sound like he wants to speak up. So I can only tell it secondhand. I don't know the details, but apparently,
Andrea, you want me to tell? All right. So here's the skinny on that. We, Sarah needed some kind of distraction in her life from whatever. Anyway, so baseball was the distraction. And every year I was watching baseball, and she got into baseball with me. This is when she was staying with me for a little while. And that kind of stuck. But every year, at the beginning of the season, Sarah would follow the Rangers, and she would pick out one player, and that would be like her Rangers boyfriend or her Rangers husband. And, they never knew it. But a lot of times those husbands, they were pretty close to getting divorced or on thin ice or something, because they would inevitably go into a slump, and then she would be, that's it, waivers. He's gone. Anyway.
I have to share this one thing that there's so many things that kind of just pop up. But I was at a couple of those hot tub parties. I don't know if you're still on here, but those are real. I remember bringing a few of my friends, and
I remember.
I just want to remind you, Daniel, that that you're still alive, so you can get in trouble for those.
There's nothing that can be done. I'm in Brooklyn. Uh, but there's one funny thing, and I mean, hey, she used to have a bong in her bedroom that she didn't smoke, but she ended up using it
Yep.
as a flower, as a vase, and I
Yep.
think Norma would clean and had no idea that it was. I just remember that, and we talked about it. I was like, "Is that a bong?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's a vase." It's like they don't know. I'm like, "No." So I thought that was a funny memory.
Another funny thing with her too, like I remember the first time I went to her house, right? And she didn't tell me about the rats at all. So I'm just sitting there on the sofa. I think I came to pick her up for a hash, I think. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I feel something on my shoulder, and it's this hairless rat. And I'm looking like, wow. And then all of a sudden it's like the friendliest rat. She's just and she's like, oh yeah, she's not gonna do anything. He's not. You just let. And I'm like, okay. And then I just, it was just funny. The last thing I would have expected. So at that point, I think she had two. She had a white one, I think, and she had that hairless one, which was really friendly. She would just kind of crawl around your neck and just get into your pockets and just kind of go on, do her thing. So that was also a fun memory of that. Yeah. So.
Well, here, let me share one more thing, Andrea. When Sarah was in the pain clinic in Michigan, I went to go visit her, and it was around Halloween. And I happened upon this really interesting costume accessory of sorts. It was like a bandage. You put it on your head, and it was like a bandage, and it had a mechanical rat, like eating your brain. And it was just really appropriate because she was, in the migraine clinic. So I went in there and gave this to her, and sure enough, she thought it was just the cat's meow. She loved it. She wore it, and the doctor came in to check on her. She's got this thing on her head, and then she's like, I feel a lot better right now, doctor. Anyway.
Here's another quick one, because when we were, I guess I just met her, I was 12, I think, or something, and I had just came back to, we went back every other weekend and stuff, and she had introduced me to her horse when she still had a horse, and took me out there, and I'm like, I had never been on a horse, I'd never seen a horse really that close, and she's like, yeah, get on it, and I got on bareback. And it wasn't such a great idea because as soon as I got on, the horse took off, and I freaked out because it was like there was nothing but open field, and it started picking up speed, and the only thing I could think to do was just to jump off. So it's like that was my horse experience, and then I think a couple years after that, we went on a family vacation to the Dude Ranch. And I got on a nice, slow, old horse on the beginner trail.
Were you on Spanky?
I
remember the horse's name was Spanky. He was like ancient.
So another,
do you
oops, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask Dan if he remembered, Dan, what horse she put you on the first time?
I would have been 12, which would have made her 14, I think. I remember it was a junior high dance I had just come from. That's the only way I remember that.
Coco, maybe, or what? Remember. Okay, no matter. Sandra, you were saying?
So, just a funny story about I had an old car. I had bought even like now saying it, it's like ridiculously, I guess, embarrassing, but I had for my first car, it was a gold 1973 Malibu Classic station wagon that was the size of a school bus. And I was upgrading because we could start seeing the floor as we were driving. And, you know, every turn you took, you know, you'd feel and you'd go sliding across the seats because it was leather. That was an upgrade. And it drank gas and the shocks were horrible. And, but that was my first car and I had wheels, and Sarah lived way, way, way far away because, you know, she lived, what is it, Sussex or Andover? So, you know, God bless her mom. You know, Norma drove her every single day to
Wantage
Sparta.
Township.
Wantage, okay, thank you. You drove her to school every day and back, but when we got our license, I'm sure you had a mini party, and we would drive her, you know, back and forth a couple times, and, you know, then she decided she needed wheels. And so I was getting rid of the school bus. And so she's like, okay, well, I want to buy it. So she bought it, but it had lots of rust and it had lots of holes. So she took it, and I don't know if she had one of our Grease Monkey friends help her or if she did it herself, but she spruced it up with some Bondo, and then it became called the Cow. And so we would always say, you know, Sarah's coming with the cow. And so, you know, I think she named it that, like, you know, she always just came up with names, just anywhere and everything that we did, there was always names associated. And she, I have no idea. And I was just typing to John Reed, and I can't remember for the life of me, but we would be driving and she would just stick her head out the window and just yell out the word broccoli. No idea why. It was just like, you know, broccoli, and she would just yell it out. And she would make it hysterical and funny, just the word broccoli. And oh my God, I could just keep going on and on, just like all of you. I mean, the spirit that girl brought, you can't replace it. You just cannot replace it.
She, you know, the current vehicle that she had, or her last vehicle, she had a name for that one too. That one was called the Lesbaru.
Subaru?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a Subaru Outback, and she didn't know this before she bought it, but she says she always, you know, that she's like, every lesbian she's known has one. So she's like the Lesbaru. Sandra, the toy iguana story, did she find that? Who played that on who?
Well, my brother found it. My brother went to Montclair State just like I did. She was going to William Patterson, and we both had our apartment kind of in the middle between William Patterson and Montclair State. And so my brother was eating in the cafeteria and looked out the window and saw the iguana and came outside, called me, or I think he called me. I mean, obviously we didn't have cell phones then. Somehow he got a hold of me and he said, you got to come and get this iguana. I'm not allowed to have it in the dorm. And I don't remember if he was in his dorm when I went to go pick it up, or if he was still, I think I remember him still being outside the cafeteria and he had it. And that's when we looked at him and Sarah's like, yeah, we're getting it. And I don't even remember why she was even with me. If I can remember that. But yeah, so my brother found it, but she's the one that took care of it from, day one. I thought she was a little crazy. She went out and got the needles and she was like, I'm going to give it needles and, bring it back to health. And I'm like, okay, go ahead and do that. And so, for the next year,
Fearless.
what?
She's just fearless. Like, I'm going to do, like when she got the cow, she decided she was going to fix it.
Yep. She really, honestly,
And she got the book, she read the book, she in the iguana, I'm going to get needles so I can give them antibiotic injections. Okay, and she goes and she talks to the vet and she's a biology student, blah, 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 and there she is, she's the lizard whisperer. And
well, she came to I believe she came to my mom's house. This was after her first marriage because she was coming home to visit Norma, and she stopped off and she had both the lizard and the rat with her. And I was so shocked by the size of it, because you have to understand, like when we got this lizard, it seriously was this big. Like, it was not big at all. It was a very small lizard with no toes, maybe a couple. And like the scales were disgusting and gross. And the thing looked like it was on his last legs. So, that's why I was like, oh, you're Sarah. And so, like I said, this thing must have been out of somebody's house for a very long time, the way it looked. It had to have been somebody's pet, obviously. And who knows, like who, what happened or what the backstory is. But, she honestly was fearless. Like anything that she did, she just stepped right into it. And it just made it look like she's always done it. And she, didn't have any anxiety about it, or she didn't have any thoughts about it. But it's amazing, the two sides of Sarah, and how she could just be so vibrant and full of life and take things on. And, when she started college and then she stopped it. And then, she went back and everything. And she was just like, yeah, I'll just go back. I'll figure it out. Or, I'll just uproot myself and just move to Dallas, Texas. It was like just one thing after another. She just did not show fear. And it was amazing. She brought happiness into my life and just an amazing high school and college life. So I'm very fortunate to have known her then.
That little lizard you described, and you mentioned it was so big, and
It was
there's one of the big pictures that she gave out to everybody was with the lizard
Yes.
on her shoulder. I don't know, it must have been like 3 feet long, 3.5 feet long. It was too big around just to put one hand around it. You had to use two hands.
Well, and when I showed that picture to my brother, because I was like, she had him for a long, long time. And I'm like, and it grew to be a really big lizard. And so I just sent that picture to him. And when he got it, he was like, oh my God. He's like, I cannot believe that. I was like, yep.
Sarah looks so young in that picture too.
He does.
Oh my gosh.
And going through the pictures that you guys had of her, her different colored hair, long hair, short hair, obviously, it's through the years and everybody changes and stuff, but, but her facial expressions and her demeanor has definitely not changed.
Was there a story with that lizard in the Christmas tree at some point? Like you couldn't have a Christmas tree because it would just crawl up inside it and just hang out in there?
Seem to recall the lizard in the Christmas tree myself too.
I don't remember that.
Had lots of cats also have the same issue with Christmas trees too, but you know, you might as well get a cat tree if you got a Christmas tree.
It was when we were, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No. Oh, okay. It was when we were living in the apartment above the barn. She brought the Christmas tree home one Christmas. I mean, the lizard home one Christmas, and we lost it. We couldn't find it. And then we finally found it hanging inside the Christmas tree. And it climbed the Christmas tree and was there.
There was another time when we couldn't find it in the Christmas tree. We're looking all over for it. It crawled in the back of my studio, hanging on the wires, because it was nice and warm back there.
Hey, and I remember the one time she brought the lizard to my house. It was funny because he was climbing around and I had a little tree he was climbing on. But anyway, my cat kept stalking it. And Sarah was like, don't worry about it. Well, sure enough, after about a half an hour, the cat went running up. That lizard popped that cat so hard with that tail, that cat ran and hid and would not come out for the rest of the night. Deb, you asked if it was the brown cow.
Yeah.
It was more gold than brown, but we named it the cow. We just named it the cow.
I thought of an animal.
I don't even remember that car.
I don't think it lasted that long. Like I said, the floor was starting to rot. We really could see the ground as we drove. So we had to be careful of where we put our feet.
That was kind of the norm of cars from that era, late 70s and 80s. They just
Yeah, but we weren't driving then. We were just born then.
Well, he's driving by the early 90s, but what I mean is the cars from the 70s and 80s, by the time you started driving, were just like you described.
That's true.
So just to expand a little bit on the tabby rat, her first rat, she had told me this story. She had gotten this little rat to feed her python. Her python named Monty the python. And as she described it, and she described it this way, said like Tabby, didn't have a name for it because it was food for the python. And so she describes, said, yeah, I went to feed this rat to the python. And the rat was like smart, just kind of like ducked and weaved. And this is exactly how Sarah's telling me about it. It was just like too smart and ran and managed to avoid the python. So she ended up feeding it like another, baby rat but she kept trying to feed the same rat to the python. The python can never get it. And so every time the python couldn't get it, she'd pick it up. And it would give her little rat kisses. And of course, I guess that was part of the rat's plan, because between the intelligent, avoiding and giving Sarah rat kisses, Sarah fell in love with it, and that became Tabby, her first rat.
Yes.
God, that's a funny story.
Then her first husband had 2 cats. So she had rats and he had cats. And Sarah would let the rats out to play. And the cats would be like trying to look under a piece of furniture, and the rats, like, meanwhile, like climbing up the curtains in the other room, because the rat always outsmarted the cats.
Yeah.
I was asked if
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
remember, Sandra, when I was talking about the iguana,
Mhm.
she had a toy iguana. Do you remember that she had? Because Zoe used to fight with the toy iguana.
Yes, that's right. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Didn't she put it under your pillow one night?
I'm sure.
Or
I have such a horrible memory in some things. I mean,
Sometimes you want to put it out of your memory.
no, not necessarily. I mean, she would do things and I'd be like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But she was not, I mean, she wasn't vicious or anything like that. And it was just that I wasn't as attached.
well, the way I remember hearing about it, because she had to call me up and tell me, was that she got this plastic iguana and she put it under your pillow in your bed. And when you came home, she said, have you seen Zoe? I haven't been, I cut and you're, I just came home, whenever, but eventually you went to bed. And there was this cold, stiff iguana under your pillow.
Yeah,
You
that
don't
sounds,
remember this?
I don't. I don't know why
That's
I
funny
can't remember
because
it.
she tells it like like that would have traumatized you or something. Maybe she was making it up.
It was probably like, I probably screamed and, been like, oh my God, something like that. But I don't think it traumatized me. It's probably just something that Sarah did.
Or it was so much trauma, your mind just blanked it out.
That is true too.
So did you guys do the car surfing, parking lot surfing, or whatever it was she told me about? Was that you did with the cow, the bus? Or are you going to deny that ever happened?
No, I will not deny that ever happened.
I'm like,
surfing,
man, I never thought of anything that stupid.
Oh, we did a lot of stupid things.
I mean, did different stupid things. It's part of the job.
And I'm sure John could.
Those were the years to do stupid things.
Yeah, I'm
That
sure
was all
John
on
could
Facebook.
step in when we played things like Bump Bump That was really horrible. Where we and I'm sure she probably gave that name to it.
Dan is laughing his butt off.
I will neither confirm nor deny that any untoward activities happened.
We deny any of that.
We hung out in the woods. There's John. Yeah, John, you can talk about it as well. You were there.
No, I wasn't.
I don't want to weird anyone out. I think we're down to, it says 27 participants. So I got some more details last night about Sarah's last night. And if people are interested, I could talk about that.
I would love to know.
But if you don't want to ruin your night, but if you're curious, you can contact me privately. Does anyone else chime in? I don't want to ruin everyone's night, but I understand the curiosity.
Already did. Yeah. It was more fun before when everybody was laughing.
Well, you heard what
Kathy,
I can stop.
I liked your story about how Sarah.
I'm not going to do this now then.
Yes. I liked your story you told me the other night when Sarah found out more about rats after she had rats for a while. You
Oh my
told-
gosh. Tabby rat was an only rat. And Sarah eventually, because she decided she needed to learn more about rats, did a lot of reading up. And she found out that rats are, they live in packs. They're pack animals. And she was so upset that she had Tabby without any other rats to keep them company. But, you know, eventually she just decided that she was just a big rat to Tabby.
Which was probably correct.
Wow.
So Tabby had his family in
Yeah.
Sarah.
So I can tell you something about the rats. So the only rats I've ever seen, I grew up in Los Angeles, and rats over there, they're just disgusting. You don't want to be around them. So when she first told me I had to watch Psy and I had to watch the rats and feed them, and I was like, what is this crap? And she would send me pictures. She was like, look, they clean my eyebrows and they do all this stuff. So I finally took the rat out, and I was like, and I took my kids over there, and they would come up and clean me up and stuff. And I was sitting there like, God, you guys are amazing. And she's the one who got me to appreciate rats. You know, growing up in Los Angeles, you don't want to deal with them. But I can understand the whole rat thing. It's difficult to like comprehend.
It was hard to dislike rats at Sarah's place. It really was.
Yeah, that's the truth, because she had them. They would sit there and they would like walk up to you and they would like touch you and they'd be like, "Hey, how you doing today?" Like, yeah, they're like strippers to me, but I loved them. You know, I love, Sarah made me love rats. Like my kids, they love rats. Like they want to see the rats all the time. That's how they are. So yeah, she was a special person, man. I gotta tell you guys, she's special. Well, everybody knows. Everybody knows, but man, that girl is special. I you know, growing up in Los Angeles, you see rats that are like, what, a foot long, and they have big ass tails, and they're trying to kill you. And then I go to her house, and she has these little babies, and I'm like, oh my God, I love you. I love you.
I have to agree with you, Tony. I live in New York, and the rats here are monsters. Yeah. They're very scary. The rats she had were cute, and they were well groomed and had fun stuff to play on. And yeah, the rats here are just, you jump when you see them. You could actually let them crawl on you.
Hey, don't worry, man. You're on the west or East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. It's the same. Well, right now I'm in New Orleans, so I have to deal with a whole different problem here. But I get what you're saying. Sarah made the rats like a whole different ball game.
She did that.
I loved it. Like, you know, like I said before, like she would take off. She was like, I have to travel. And she was like, Tony, can you take care of Psy and can you take care of the rats? I didn't even hesitate. I was over there 2 times a day.
So when I met Sarah, she had 3 rats. One was Peaches, the naked rat that was 4 years old. There was another one whose name I forget. And then there was Killer.
I remember Killer.
Killer was cool. He was like the most grateful rat that you've ever met. He was very friendly, but he just, gave off this energy of gratitude.
Yeah.
And I asked her, well, why is this grateful rat named Killer? And so the story goes that he lived in a 4-story rat condo. It was like 4 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
And he had a hammock in the very top. And so Killer would sleep in the hammock.
Yep.
With Peaches would crawl up under Killer. Killer would keep her warm, and the two would sleep. So somebody came to visit Kathy, or Sarah. Somebody came to visit Sarah. I don't know who it was, but they had a dog, a little tiny dog, that was a yapper. And so this dog, every morning, would come in Sarah's bedroom and yap at the killer rat and bang on the kennel and make a great big scene and then do that until it was run out of the room. One morning, Killer, while this dog was wreaking havoc downstairs and shaking his rat condo, woke up and peered over the edge of the hammock, like with both paws, kind of raised himself up, looked down, and observed this dog banging on the kennel or the cage. And he very slowly, after a couple of minutes, raised himself up out of the hammock, ambled down the stairs, waddling down the 4 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
And then perched himself on the ground floor of the rat condo as this dog was banging on the cage. And every time the dog would bang on the cage, his tongue would slide through the cage bars. So, according to Sarah, Killer sat there for a minute, I guess timing the intervals of the tongue coming through the cage, and waited for the perfect moment. And then when that dog's tongue came through the cage, latched onto that tongue. And rats, they have little incisors.
Yeah.
So pierced the tongue of the dog. Of course, the dog pulls back and screams and yells, and there's blood going everywhere. The dog runs off. And Sarah, mind you, Sarah's watching this, right? So, and then she says, Killer just very slowly ambled back up 4 flights of stairs, crawled back in the hammock, and went back to sleep. Mission accomplished.
I gotta tell you guys, those rats were the funnest thing I've ever, I went to Sarah's house all the time. Those rats, they were just like incredible. Except for her neighbor. I had to talk shit to him one time. But because he complained about the dog side barking too much. So I yelled at him. But yeah, the rats were, the minute you opened the cage, they would come running down and they'd be like, hey, let me come play with you. And they would just sit on you and just kiss you and like pick at your eyebrows and stuff. That's just all they did. It was amazing. That's why I said if there's a problem with the rats, I'll go pick them up.
Like Sarah said, Tabby Rat gave her little rat kisses.
Oh, they would. I got a new phone. I had pictures of her getting rat kisses and like her eyebrows licked and everything. I had all kinds of pictures. They would do all kinds of crazy stuff because I was like, rats are like that? And she was like, yeah. She was like, I'll send you pictures. And she would send me pictures of them picking her at her eyebrows. They would pick at her hair. I don't know if they went downtown. I don't know anything about that. But like, so I would take them and they would do like my hair and my eyebrows. Cause I'm really particular about my I get my eyebrows done by Puerto Ricans. So
Well,
done.
I don't know. Last I knew, there was an available rat called Larry.
That's
Larry's
what
gone.
I've been trying to figure out.
Yeah, there's. I
Larry's
don't.
gone to a good home.
Larry's got a home.
Larry's got a good home.
Okay.
There's a young girl that took him.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Cool. But I had talked to Kathy about it, and I was just trying to make sure I could take care of something. You know.
This is Tony Kenward. She was my girlfriend for
Tony.
the last 3 months. And
Tony.
What's up?
You're the dude that lived by me, right?
Yeah. I used to
I've
go out
known
with,
you for a long time, right?
yeah, Sarah and I went out before.
Yeah. I know you, man. I was just trying to see if I could help out, man.
Yeah, and she was with me the last 3 months.
Yeah, I know. I heard.
She left my house to go to Colorado, so I feel kind of responsible for everybody. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay, Tony. I've known you for what, 6 years or something like that? I've known you for a while. And I know you're hurting. So I was just trying to help out, man. That's all I was trying to do.
Tony.
Sarah was the most incredible person I knew.
I know. And you know how I felt about her too. You know that. Because my kids have even been to your house. So.
Oh.
You know how it was.
Kathy, sorry.
I know how you felt about her, man. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
You're going to say something, Kathy?
Oh, I was just gonna say to, Tony Kenward that, I don't hold you responsible for anything. I know that Sarah was very sick. And
I appreciate that, but she did what she did on my watch.
Stop right there. This is not your fault. Okay? You can't do that. You can't do that because you're gonna have to carry that weight with you it's not your fault. Okay? Don't worry, I lost 2 soldiers within 24 hours for suicide. Trust me. I've been there, done that.
Tony Jackson?
Yes.
Tony Jackson, I'm going to ask you to let
Chill.
other people talk some more. If you could let other people talk some more, share the time, that's all.
I understand, Kathy. I understand.
Hi, my name is Karen. I went to high school with Sarah, and we sat at the same lunch table, and she would sing Winnie the Pooh songs, and we would break out in a song in high school at the lunch table. She dated someone named Eddie Muldoon, and I dated his friend Nathan Schoonover, and we hung out at John Reed's house, and things shall remain there. But she just was a wonderful human being. I remember going over to Norma's house. I went to ISD since I turned 18. As soon as I can drive, I drove right from the Lady of Lake Catholic Church right to ISD and joined that church.
Oh, I knew her.
I met Norma. I remember doing a meditation at Norma's house with Sarah, where we laid on the floor and we had to pretend there were ropes coming out of our fingers, and that was my first meditation. Just a wonderful experience and introduction to an alternative religion. Sarah was extremely positive. I loved hearing the stories about how she made up a different language of nicknames. She called Eddie, and driving in, as Sandra brought up, old vehicles from the 70s and 80s with the 90s drivers, and You know, she was something very special, a bright, beautiful light. I did not keep in touch with her in her older years as she moved on to different states. You know, I deeply regret that, hearing the wonderful stories, just how amazing and funny she is. I remain in New Jersey, of course, in the same pond I grew up in, but she was just full of life, and I just wanted to say that before I sign off.
Thank you, Karen, for
For
sharing
sharing
that.
Thank you very much.
It's always something to hear, you know, from the people she went to school with.
And Karen, ISD is still there.
Yeah, I still go. I'm you know, one of those that drift in and out, but I still go to ISD, and on occasion, you know, like it's just a beautiful church, wonderful people. You know, I still can't sway very well when it comes at the end of the song. I fall off my balance. I love a church that hugs.
Well, we're kind of stopped from hugging right now. It's kind of against rules and regulations. Still trying to keep, you know, social distances, so we can only have a few people in church. So
yes,
but I saw you up there, and I remembered your name, and I knew you from high school, and then when you were saying about you dated Nate, yeah, Nathan.
He was a great guy. Eddie and Nate were best friends, and so Sarah and I would be with the two of them, and just really wonderful high school memories with two really outstanding people.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.